The Puppetmaster of Valemont. The Story of Alexander Grayson. Prologue. The Making of a Monster. Valemont was a city built on secrets, an elegant facade of old wealth, cobblestone streets, and polished marble hiding the ruthless machinery of influence beneath. It wasn't as loud as other big cities in the USA, nor as vast, but it was just as dangerous in its own quiet way. William Grayson had not been born into power in Valemont. He had carved it out. Starting with real estate, then moving into private banking and exclusive investment circles, he systematically bought his way into the city's elite. He hosted lavish galas, courted the press, and married Catherine, the daughter of a well-respected judge, solidifying his social climb. But for all the appearances of grace and legitimacy, William's power was soaked in corruption, favors, and silence. Alexander was their only child, a boy born into opulence but shaped by shadows. From a young age, he was the quiet observer in rooms filled with power, absorbing everything. He had his mother's gentleness in his early years, but it was his father's cold precision that would take root and grow. Where Catherine gave him warmth, William taught him control. And in Valemont, a city that rewarded masks and manipulation, Alexander learned early that to survive, he had to become something more. Catherine Grayson was the kind of mother other children dreamed of having. She was beautiful in the way that old Hollywood starlets were, soft features, warm brown eyes, golden hair that framed her face like a halo. But it wasn't just her beauty that made her unforgettable. It was the way she made the world feel lighter, warmer, safer. She sang to Alexander when he was afraid of the dark. She read him bedtime stories with a voice so full of love that the words didn't matter, only the sound of her. She kissed his forehead every morning, told him he was her greatest treasure. And for a while, in that golden bubble of childhood, Alexander believed that life would always be like this. But William Grayson was not built for warmth. He was a different kind of man. Tall, dark-haired, broad-shouldered, and impossibly handsome. William carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who knew the world bent to his will. He was wealthy, obscenely wealthy. More than that, he had influence. His name opened doors. His money built empires. His presence commanded respect, even fear. And beneath the polished surface of his power, there was rot. Alexander didn't understand it at first. He was too young to recognize the looks his father gave women who weren't his mother. Too naive to understand why certain people, his father's business associates, men in crisp suits and cold eyes, spoke in whispers when Catherine walked into the room. But children notice things, even when adults think they don't. And Alexander noticed. Not all at once. The realization crept in like a sickness, slow and insidious. The nights his father came home late, smelling of perfume that wasn't his mother's. The way Catherine's eyes dimmed over the years, as if some part of her knew but refused to acknowledge it. The lingering lipstick stains on shirt collars, the hushed phone calls, the elegant women at charity events who looked at his father with something too familiar to be innocent. At 7 years old, Alexander didn't have the words for it, but he knew, and he was afraid, because his mother was good. She was kind and loving and soft in a way his father never was. And he knew, even as a child, that his father was something else entirely, a shadow that moved through the world untouched, untouchable. William Grayson cheated because he could, because power meant never having to say no, because the thrill of getting away with it was as intoxicating as the money, the control, the endless cycle of destruction he left in his wake. Alexander never told his mother. He wanted to, sometimes. Wanted to tug at her sleeve and whisper the ugly truth into her ear just to see if she would believe him. But something always stopped him. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was the quiet, lingering suspicion that she already knew. And then, one spring afternoon, she died. It happened without warning. One moment she was smiling at him, brushing his hair from his eyes, promising they would go to the park later. The next, she was on the floor, her body still, her eyes open but vacant. An aneurysm, they said. Fast, unexpected, unfair. Alexander sat by her side until they took her away. His father didn't cry, didn't grieve. William Grayson arranged the funeral, signed the papers, and went back to work. Within a month, there was another woman in their home, a tall, striking brunette who didn't try to mother him, didn't even acknowledge him beyond a polite nod. And Alexander realized then, with a certainty that settled deep into his bones, people were replaceable, even the ones you loved, especially them. And when William Grayson finally died years later, leaving everything to his son, Alexander felt nothing. Just like always,